Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Movie Chat, presented by Press Play Streaming Studios. We invite you to join us for a lighthearted, sometimes comedic take on movies, TV, and all things pop culture. Sit back, have fun, and press play. All right, guys and girls, so glad to have you with us tonight. This is Alan, and we are here in the Press Play Studios with Movie Chat. I am your host, Alan.
What up, y'all? I'm Stefan. Glad to be back this week. We're excited. We got some jam-packed live action coming to you here, Alan.
Yeah, what are we covering this week, Steph?
We got to. I thought it would be fun. We were in a car the other day, and we were driving along. We were like, "What would you rank your favorite Marvel characters?" Or and Dad, knowing him, he's like, "Well, what about like what kind of ranking is it like? They're what's it like in the comic and the movies?" And I'm like, "No, just overall. Like, how do you feel and what do you like? What are your thoughts?"
So what we decided to do is we decided to rank the MCU movie characters. And what we did was we invited some very special guests to come on with us tonight. So let's put our hands together and greet our first guest. This is Miss Chantal Skywalker. How you doing, Chantal?
I'm good. How are you guys? Thanks for having me on.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
We're glad
so
to have
when we reached out to everybody to ask them about their list of characters, we kind of left it up to you to rank them how you wanted to rank them, as far as whether or not you wanted to rank them by power sets or your favorite. How did you rank yours?
Yeah, just my favorite. I kept it simple. I kept it simple. I kept it simple.
I can see that.
Because then we could really be here all day if we really break it down.
Yeah, this could be a long one. So, all right. And then our second guest tonight is Mr. DJ, who's been with us last week. Welcome to the stream, Mr. DJ.
How are we doing? Triggering my inner Dave Filoni.
There you go. I love it. So, how did you decide to rank yours tonight?
A combination of favorite and powers and exposure that we see in the MCU.
Nice. That should be a very fun topic for conversation. We also have with us the Frank. How you doing tonight, Frank?
He's muted.
Frank, your mic is not on.
That did not just happen.
Not just
happened. I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me on the show.
Hey,
glad to have you, Frank.
We appreciate you coming. So, how did you rank yours tonight?
Well, I actually ranked mine not so much about powers. I mean, obviously, I ranked some of my favorite ones, but also, their backstory and just like their story in general in the MCU.
That sounds fun.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna before I bring on my last guest. Here was my idea. We're all everyone that you see on here tonight is part of a podcast streaming group. I wanted to get someone's opinion on the MCU who's not going to be watching it from our point of view. Because let's face it, we watch things with a little bit more critical eye because we're going to be talking about it, right? So let's get someone on who has a very analytical mind and who's as big as nerd as the rest of us. Everybody, welcome Josh. How you doing, Josh?
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Josh.
What up?
Oh, I'm awesome. I'm so excited for this.
How did you do your rank tonight, Josh?
Some of it is like relevance to the MCU. Some of it is just overall enjoyment. And there are some people who are on this list because I just really like the actors portraying them. You'll hear me mention this list. You'll hear me mention this list a couple times. I have this super exclusive list in my head. It's celebrities I want to read me bedtime stories based on the tone of their voice.
Yeah.
And at least two of them are on this list.
Wait a minute. Are you ready, Josh? Once upon a time.
I didn't know Morgan Freeman was on the list.
I was going to say.
Well, he's on that list, but he's not on this list.
So, Stefan, how did you rank yours?
I have no rhyme or reason behind any judgment. I just looked at this list and I was just like, you know what? I'm going for it. I'm just when I break it down, I'll be able to do it for you.
So here's the funny part, guys. I actually have my list hanging up here, and Stefan looked at it. And his exact words were, "What the hell?" I ranked them in my opinion of who was the most important to Endgame. So some of the people that you might think should be pretty high on the list might be down a little bit on mine. All right, so let's just do a clockwise. Let's start, Chantal. Who's your number 10 most important?
Oh man, I don't know about important, but I have for my top 5, which now I'm gonna have to change because I based it more on superheroes. But if we're gonna go the whole full spectrum, I put Iron Man first because he kind of kicked everything off and was the ultimate sacrifice in Endgame. So. My second was Captain America, just because of his, just the purity behind it, everything in his heart. I'm gonna throw Loki in there now. I didn't have Loki on the list, but I love Loki. I like mischievous characters. Black Widow, because just like right now, she's like the mother hen to me of everybody. So I really kind of always like that about her. And then now it's gonna be a toss up between Thor and Vision for my top 5, and I think we're gonna go with Vision because I consider him to be kind of like a wise old sage. And then for my least favorite, for my least favorite, I put Hawkeye because I still think he's useless. Even he said he's useless.
You know what the sad part
I just don't get his character.
I used to love Hawkeye. I still do. I love Hawkeye.
But even he said it. He's like, I just have a bow and an arrow. None of this makes sense. So you know what I mean? So I kind of feel that way about it.
Ultron is why he's on my top 10 list. Because he's absolutely he's the glue that holds them all together at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I can see that. I did actually write the only thing that I like about, and that's why I said the only thing I really did like about his character was the way that he kind of talked Wanda into, just be a part of it. You're either an Avenger or you're not. So that was one thing that I did kind of like about his character. Quicksilver, that was useless. It was such a, I don't know. It was, to me, that was a throwaway character.
Which is sad.
Captain Marvel. I know. I was really upset about that. Let's not get into that.
No boner jokes.
Captain Marvel. Hi, I don't care. No. Captain Marvel, I just straight up did not like that movie.
That was a WandaVision, Quicksilver boner. Oh, I'm with you.
Captain Marvel.
I'm with you. When you get to my list, you'll get it.
Hulk is another one.
Girl.
Just because I think he's had actually the weakest. Sorry, he's had the weakest, in my opinion, of the movies.
Oh, you're killing me.
The Hulk has been so disjointed, and I only liked him once Mark Ruffalo took over.
Sure.
Had he been doing it from the very beginning, then maybe I would feel differently. And then War Machine, because to me he just feels like the Robin to Iron Man. You know what I mean? He's like the Robin to Batman.
Yeah, for sure.
I got you.
I don't know.
I got you. All right, DJ, lay it out. What do you got?
Here's my list.
I love it.
How many do you want? How many do you want me to give again?
Knowing you did all 25, but let's do.
I did.
Let's take Chantal's lead. Give us your top 5 and your bottom, however many.
Top 10. Top 10. Top 10.
Top 10. All right. So top 10 in descending order, 10 to 1. Number 10 would be the Hulk.
Okay.
Number 9 would be Thor. Because of WandaVision, number 8 belongs to Wanda.
Probably my favorite character.
Then it really helped the way that they flushed the character. If it wouldn't have been for that, and you'll see on the other list, what could have happened. But number 7 was Spider-Man. Number 6, Black Panther. Number 5, The Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes. Number 4, Loki. Although he could have been going up, after watching this last series, but I left him there. Number 3, I have Black Widow. Number 2, Captain America. And my number 1 overall, because of what he does and how he started everything off, Tony Stark, Iron Man.
Respectable.
So we had the same top 3.
Now, before you get to your bottom 5, what makes Black Widow so high on your list, DJ?
As was mentioned before, kind of with Clint, that Natasha is the glue that held them together during the first 2 Avengers. She doesn't have a lot of superpowers, which, or any superpowers whatsoever. She's been highly trained, which is something that I really respect. She's not a god or a goddess. She's not had any sort of super serum that we know of.
She wasn't bitten by a
but she does it, and she, yeah. But she still, she manages to get the job done, and she has been the glue to hold them together throughout some movies. And I really, I can't wait to see this next movie that comes out with that features her. So that's why I put her up there.
Nice.
Got it.
Nice. Cool. All right, so give us your bottom. Give us your bottom 2.
Bottom 2?
Yeah.
Hawkeye, number is 24.
Okay.
Although there's been movies where they could have completely, he was left out of, most of the movies.
Yeah.
And Black Widow's been in more movies. And again, he admits, hey, I can shoot a bow and arrow good. So, yeah, he held them together for a movie, but it could have been done by somebody else.
Okay.
And number 25 on my list is Quicksilver, because they just, in the MCU so far, they have done him dirty.
I agree.
The comics, he is such a better character. I was hoping that they would do something cool with him in WandaVision, but was severely disappointed. So Quicksilver is the last on the list, number 25.
Yes, I agree. I'm with you wholeheartedly. All right, Frank, give it to us, baby. What do you got?
All right, so do you want top 5, top 10?
Whatever you want to do. Top 5,
what are we
top
looking
10.
at? Okay, I'll do a top 5. I'm gonna put a number 5, going from 5 to 1. I'm putting the Winter Soldier as number 5.
Okay.
Only because, to me, like Captain America and the Winter Soldier is probably one of the best standalone MCU movies.
Oh, I would agree.
Just because, like, it didn't feel like a comic book movie. To me, it looked like an espionage spy movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like,
Yeah.
and then
Agreed.
And then I think just like his character alone, like the dynamic between him and Steve Rogers, like when they first meet, he has that confused look on his face, and just like his whole backstory of like, how his best friend then turned mortal enemy, and then just the whole brainwashing with Hydra. It's just, and then obviously we see more of that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's just, his backstory to me is, one of the most intriguing ones out of all the characters of Marvel.
I agree.
Number four, Black Panther. I put Black Panther there because obviously, the movie is just visually. I mean, obviously the story of Black Panther was amazing, but just the movie itself visually, it's amazing.
I agree.
The costume design, the acting.
Yeah.
Yes, visually, I think it's probably one of the best MCU movies they've made. And then it, and then the story of just like, this prince sees his father die, then has to become the king of his entire nation, and then like everything is put on his shoulders to be the king better than the kings of past. And then to me, that movie probably had one of my all-time favorite villains in Killmonger.
Oh, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Just the whole dynamic between the two of like, your dad killed my dad, now I must
Two
avenge his
great
death.
actors just going at it.
Yes. And then Michael B. Jordan, spoilers, I'm sorry, he dies in the end. I really wish they didn't kill his character off. I would have loved to have seen him back again.
I would have too.
And Black Panther too.
And who's to say with the whole multiverse that he's not going to?
That's what we hope.
Who knows? Especially now with Doctor Strange. Exactly.
Yeah.
Number three, Spider-Man. Obviously, I could go into Spider-Man from the comics to the animated series to the movies. He's just one of the best. And I feel like he serves such a huge importance in Avengers Endgame, because like if obviously he comes back and Tony's happy because like he's back, but if you really think about it, if it wasn't for his death, that would not have motivated Tony to bring everybody back.
Sure. I think
because I saw something online the other day about like, look at the moment when Tony is in his cabin, he's with his wife and his daughter, everything is fine. He sees the picture of him and Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And then that instant, he feels like, remorse, and he feels like, I have to bring this kid back. And he serves a purpose because he's the one that motivates Tony to bring everybody back. So, yeah, he's number 3 on my list. Number 2, Iron Man. What can I say? He pretty much started the entire MCU universe.
Yes.
A character that, if you really think about it, his importance in the entire Marvel history is very low on the totem pole.
Oh, absolutely.
When people say like, if you would ask somebody before the movie came out, Iron Man, is he in your top 5, top 10, top 20? Probably would have said no. They would have probably listed a bunch of people before getting to Iron Man. He changed the narrative of Iron Man. Like Robert Downey Jr. just propelled that character to number 1 status.
Sure.
And then obviously his sacrifice in Endgame, him bringing the team together, what can be said.
I agree.
And then my number one, Captain America, the first Avenger. You can't. I have just a deep love for Captain America, obviously because I'm American. So, but not only that, but just like his story as well, about somebody who just wanted to do good in this world. He just wanted to, like, when the guy says like, oh, you want to go off and kill some Nazis, like, no, I just don't like bullies.
Yeah.
Like, just that sense of like, I want to do good, even though like I'm the smallest person, I'm not the strongest person in the world, but I want to make a difference. And then even with the power, because they said like, the power can either make a good person a better person, or it can make a bad person an evil person.
Right.
And you saw that it just made him a better person. Correct. Yeah. And the thing that I loved is that he never took advantage or abused his power. He used his power only for good. He's like, I want to leave this place better than what it was when I was in it.
Sure.
And like, to me, like the way that they ended Endgame with him finally being able to be at peace. It's like, you know what? I've been fighting for so long, like, to be able to say like, I get to, go home, be with a woman I love, and just spend the rest of my life in peace. It's like, how can you not like that about a character?
No doubt.
No
doubt.
So that's my top 5. As far as my
Frank, that
top
was absolutely,
5
that was
worst, I mean,
man.
even though,
that was beautiful, Frank. I loved that.
I did too.
I was in.
I'm over here going, we're all just going to shut up now.
Yeah,
Frank talk
like
to
I'm
us.
at peace. I'm at peace now. Like I could just sit on a park bench by a pond.
Who's your
well,
least
thank you
favorite?
very much. Thank you. Sometimes,
What's your bottom? Who sucks?
Okay, who sucks? Okay, number five. Number five, and not that he sucks, but I just feel like Drax. I mean, he has his comedy relief, but does he really serve a purpose? Like his purpose is basically to be the funny guy.
Yeah.
It's a meathead.
Yeah.
He's a meathead.
Like me in this stream right now. I'm the Drax of this stream. I'm just here to throw jabs
Hey,
and,
at least you're not sitting there doing this the whole
and screaming and eating chips
Correct.
quietly and being invisible.
And then once again, going back to some of your guys' favorites, Quicksilver.
Yep.
I feel like they could have done so much with that character, but obviously they didn't. Marvel didn't own the rights to the X-Men.
Yeah.
They had their hands tied. I honestly believe if they had the rights to the X-Men, they could have easily made his character so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much better.
Marvel did
and then-
such a great job
go ahead.
with him. The X-Men franchise, they did such a great job with that character on their side. Imagine what that would have been like under Marvel's umbrella. It would have been fantastic.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna step on you here for a second, Alan. The Fox Quicksilver is what everyone expects in a Quicksilver character, but Aaron Taylor Johnson is such a better actor than Evan Peters was. Like that's why I was disappointed that they did the fake out in WandaVision, because I love Aaron Taylor Johnson. He was great in Kick-Ass. He was great in
Kick-Ass,
Godzilla.
I actually don't understand the obsession
great.
with Evan Peters, honestly.
I think everybody's
because he's creepy.
because of the Quicksilver because he brought it.
I didn't even like him on American Horror Story. I always thought he was annoying.
He brought a quirkiness to the
Yeah,
character.
he
Well,
thought
and the
he
way that
did
they
really
portrayed
great,
him in the movie.
and he was great. No, sorry. There's two things Evan Peter did that I thought he did really great in, and he was great as the sidekick in Kick-Ass. Ironically, Aaron Taylor Johnson's best friend.
I loved
And then
Kick-Ass.
So did I.
there's I don't know if it's out yet. But there's kind of a docudrama where he's going to play Jeffrey Dahmer that looks really, really
I heard of that. Yeah, I heard of this.
So, but I would have loved to see them treat Aaron Taylor Johnson the way that Quicksilver portrayed the way that Evan Peters' Quicksilver was. And that's why the fake out in WandaVision really hurt my soul, because I was really hoping for Aaron Taylor Johnson.
On a side note, Jeffrey Dahmer was also played by Jeremy Renner, who played Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It all runs in the family, doesn't it?
It's all connected.
All right.
It all runs in the family.
It all runs in
Exactly.
the family. So,
If you want to dive into Marvel characters and Jeffrey Dahmer all in the same night, you join us here at Press Play Streaming Studio.
it was funny.
I don't know if I should apologize about
Crossover.
that or not. I don't know if I should apologize about that or not.
No, I think you're good. As a matter of fact, if this had done at the end of the night, I would have dropped the mic. We would have stopped the stream and walked off. so, Frank, who was your number one as far as your least favorite?
Okay, as far as my least favorite, I kind of hate to do this because I love the character,
Uh-oh.
but his portrayal in the movies, just like Chantal said, just bothered me, and that was the Incredible Hulk.
See?
Now, are we talking
Mind
about
you, I
of
love the
them?
Incredible Hulk.
or Ruffalo?
No, Ruffalo brought new life into the Hulk to me. But obviously, when it started with Eric Bana, that
Oh,
horrible piece of crap.
that movie
was-
doesn't exist.
Yeah, I was gonna
That
say-
movie does not exist.
I'm sorry, what movie are we talking about again?
Well, exactly. I honestly, and I was so happy when Edward Norton was cast as Bruce Banner, the Hulk, because I love Edward Norton's one of my probably top 5 favorite actors of all time. Fight Club.
Mm-hmm.
The list goes on and on. But then, I just felt. But then, obviously there was that dispute with him and Marvel, and they had to recast it, and then they brought in Mark Ruffalo. I don't know. I just feel like they did not do that character justice, because the Hulk in the comics and in the cartoons, he is an unstoppable monster. Like they didn't even get in. Like they got into it a little bit into that movie that we'll never speak of again, where like the more angry he gets, the stronger he gets.
Right.
Like they never even touched on that in the movies.
Well, I
And,
don't
you know,
think
obviously-
they
and then-
had opportunity to, because he was already at
Well, yeah, because
at whatever iteration he changed it, no one could challenge it.
yeah, no, and then the fact that like one of the things that kind of upset me was in Infinity Wars. You know, when he had that big fight with Thanos, I was like, yes, we're gonna see the fight between Thanos, and then Thanos literally just goes click like this, and then like he's kind of like, oh, I don't want to keep fighting, and then he just beats the crap out of him.
Yeah.
I'm like, I would have loved to have seen a rematch between Thanos and the Hulk, but like the Hulk that we know and love, that when he's angry, he gets angry. Like he's not like this, you know, and then like that battle between Bruce Banner and the Hulk, like who's gonna win, who's gonna take over.
Yeah.
I was like, I know people were a huge fan of it. I was not a big fan of Professor Hulk and Endgame.
His introduction is super cringeworthy, and they're in the diner, and every time I watch that movie, I skip that whole scene.
When he goes, absolutely, little person. I'm like, who is this guy?
Your name's so stupid.
I love the character.
And then
of
like he's like
that iteration of him.
I'm like, that iteration
childish.
was horrible, horrible.
Well, you could tell they were going for the kitty.
In the comics, in the comics, one of my favorite things, it's I forget if it's a direct Thanos quote, but he was talking about who is he afraid of. He's like, I'm not afraid of anybody, but I do go out of my way to not provoke the Hulk.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. He actually says it like, I want nothing to do with the Hulk, because you know it's like when he gets angry and he gets enraged, he can't stop him. Nobody can.
Now I want to ask you guys this. Now,
so there you go.
Your point of view on the Hulk. What did you think all the way up to Avengers 2? Does this perspective change? Because you guys want that raging Hulk, and you got that in up to that point. You know, you got the I'm going to smash the whole city, and that's when you get introduced to the Hulk Buster, or that that whole that scene's amazing.
Yeah.
That whole thing's amazing. But then you're right. I mean, when he transitions,
But that was
So, what?
But that was
did
probably
change?
like the one iteration where like you actually see him, like his eyes are almost like bloodshot, that he has so much rage in him that like nobody can stop him. And I'm like, man, I really wish they would have touched on that more. That rage, that inner rage that he has, because like in reality, he's probably one of the most like the strongest Avenger. Yeah. Like that, there was a little joke in Thor Ragnarok where he's like, Bruce Banner, Hulk, and it's like, strongest Avenger.
Yeah, and of course Thor, not all.
So
I will say,
and Thor's like,
so for me, the Hulk was.
Go ahead, Josh.
For me, the Hulk was always just kind of an add-on until Ragnarok. That's like Ragnarok's the only time I've ever actually enjoyed having Hulk on the screen. Like anything else, he's just there breaking stuff.
Yeah.
But his arc in Ragnarok, where he's been the Hulk for so long, and it leads us to Professor Hulk, where they're working together. But that's the only time I've enjoyed really having Hulk included in anything. Everything else, he's just there.
There are two times that I love the character tremendously. Made the movie for me, made me smile and giggle like a little kid. And one is when Ruffalo says, "I'm always angry," and he turns around.
I'm always angry.
Yeah.
And, that scene was beautiful. And when he beat Loki like a rag doll. You can't tell me you didn't like that out and go like, yeah.
Mind you, that all happened in one movie.
I think the first Avengers is the only time that I really did like Hulk. Yeah. And then he became a punchline at the end.
But
I do love the call to that in Ragnarok, where he's doing it to Thor in the arena, and Loki's up in the box going, yes,
I
yes,
love
that's
Ragnarok.
what that feels like.
I love Ragnarok.
Ragnarok was great.
I love that movie.
All right, Josh, let's get through yours too.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Frank. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, No. Because I was going by your list, but there's actually probably there's two more people I wanted to add
Okay.
to my.
Well, I was going to give everybody
favorite ones?
honorable mentions.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
No,
good.
go,
All right. So I have one.
go ahead, Josh.
All
Go
right,
ahead,
cool.
Josh.
Go ahead, Josh.
All right. I'm gonna do the top 10 first, starting at the bottom, and my list looks a lot different from everybody else's. Like I said, I pulled a lot of perspectives on it, and for me, number 10 is Hawkeye. I know he just kind of seems like an also-ran, but he's always there with the right thing to say. Him calling shots in the first Avengers from up high, just being the spotter, just shows where he does have use as a character. And then I just love Jeremy Renner. There's my favorite Jeremy Renner movie is this really irreverent one called Tag that if you haven't seen, go check out.
Yeah.
That movie is hilarious, and it's hilarious because of Jeremy Renner. Number 9 for me is Groot. And Groot is one of 2 people in the whole Guardians of the Galaxy that I enjoy. Everybody else is just kind of there.
I think everybody enjoys Groot.
Big thing for me with Groot.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
kind of
Groot.
hard. It's kind of hard.
Well,
not
we
to
were
like
talking.
Groot.
Well, we were talking about our bedtime stories list, and Vin Diesel's on that list. So,
That's
people I want to read me bed stories. Vin,
that's interesting. I don't want to know.
Just think about
But-
real quick. Think about how rich.
but the thing,
Think about how filthy rich Vin Diesel is. Okay, Fast and the
that
Furious
deep
franchise.
baritone.
Fast and the Furious franchise, out of this world.
I got you,
Okay.
Chantal.
But he literally just says, "I am
Why?
Groot," and he's getting paid what?
And he makes $1 million.
Thank God.
Millions.
How much was it?
Thank God that's the only thing it
So-
says.
So here's the thing with Vin Diesel doing Groot. He did the voiceover in every language.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
James Gunn brought him the script, and he was
Yeah,
the
he did.
only person to do the voiceover in every language. And
Mhm.
he also got his own individual script with what each I am Groot actually means. And then I like that we see him through an arc as adult Groot, as baby Groot. I love teenage Groot because I have 3 teenagers living in my house right now, and every time we watch those movies and he's doing something pissy, I just point like, "That's you."
Yep.
So,
Hey,
I am Groot.
I
I'm
know what
Groot.
that's like or anything.
Moving on, number eight for me is Iron Man, because up until MCU, Iron Man was a
I
D
saw
tier
that look,
character,
Chantal.
and the only reason that it worked was Robert Downey Jr. You could put anybody else in that role. That's a one-of movie that sparkles and fades.
I agree.
Mhm.
It's over. It's done.
I agree.
But just for me, I never really bonded to the Iron Man character growing up. That being said, one of my favorite comics, I've got it somewhere. It's called the Iron Manual, and it's the whole issue of this book. It's a technical readout breaking down like the different systems of the suits. Like
That would
this
be cool.
purpose is this purpose is
Ooh.
that.
Yeah.
So that it's really kind of obscure, and my copies beat to hell. But it's like I love the technical aspect of it, and I like seeing all the different little things his suits can do. But ultimately, I have no bond to this character other than the MCU.
Okay.
Which kind of leads to my number 7, which is Captain America. He is definitely the heart of the Avengers, and Chris Evans can do no wrong, except for Fantastic Four. But they,
Again, a movie we don't talk about.
I was
but
worried when he took Captain America
I was.
Yeah.
too,
I
to be
was
honest
too.
with you.
because
But-
of that. I was like,
Killed it.
oh
But
God.
he did another comic movie in between Fantastic Four and Captain America called The Losers.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
Which
I remember
is
that.
so good. He's so good. And what's funny is he goes from being the ultra douchey jock guy,
Mhm.
then, picture perfect, all American man, and in the middle, he's a douchey tech nerd.
I'm going to interrupt
So-
you for 1 second. Just want to put a shout out to Force of Light Entertainment. Just stepped into the chat. Everybody, give them a big shout out. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Natalie. Hope you
What
guys
up,
had a
what
great
up?
night.
Hey, guys.
How you doing?
But same thing with Iron Man. This was never a character that I come from X-Men comics. Like that's where I started, was X-Men, and then getting into Marvel Occult, which we'll get into a little bit later. I knew that Captain America was important, but he wasn't necessarily important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, just like Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man, Chris Evans made me love Captain America.
I agree wholeheartedly. I don't think anyone else could have played that part. No one.
Right. Number 6 is Spider-Man. And this will surprise Alan because I do not like Spider-Man. I'm not a Spider-Man guy. I went and saw all the old Spider-Man movies out of nerd loyalty, but it's just never been a character that's appealed to me. I freaking love Tom Holland. I love this Spider-Man. And he was my favorite Spider-Man until I saw Into the Spider-Verse. I didn't know much about the whole Miles Morales character. Into the Spider-Verse, I watched my son play the PS4 Spider-Man as Miles Morales. These two iterations I really love, the Tom Holland and then the Miles Morales. Everything else Spider-Man for me is take it or leave it.
I will say this about Miles.
But it's...
If I may, I think we should, maybe this little nerd group that we have here, we should start a petition to get Marvel to do Miles in live action because I want to see it so bad.
Yeah, me too.
So here's the issue with that.
Amazing movie.
Here's the issue. My issue with that. The one person I want to play Miles Morales is getting to the point where he's too old because I don't think Donald Glover could pull off a 17-year-old kid anymore.
No.
Great point. All right, let's keep moving.
You ain't right, dude.
Number 5 for me is Doctor Strange, and this is coming from like I said, my second tier into comics was Occult through Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider appealed to me on a visual level for obvious reasons, and then I got really into their comics during what was called the Midnight Suns arc, and that's where I found Doctor Strange. And the movie Doctor Strange and the comic Doctor Strange are two different people, like 100%.
Oh yeah, big time.
But I love Whimsy Diddle Cumberbatch, who plays Doctor Strange. He's also on the bedtime stories list. But what I like about Doctor Strange in the MCU is the parallel with Tony Stark because they are the same person on two different paths.
I agree.
Yeah.
They're both
You know what, that's a good
super
call.
smart.
Absolutely.
They're both
No, I
They're
thought the
both-
same thing.
They're both top of their field, super smart, douchey, little
Arrogant.
wispy facial hair.
Sherlock Holmes.
But they're the
Sherlock Holmes.
They're the
both
same
Sherlock
guy.
Holmes. Frank just broke the rule.
Oh God, that's right.
But my favorite interaction between Doctor Strange and Iron Man is actually in the comics during the Avengers vs. X-Men, or not, sorry, wrong one. During the Phoenix, it was Avengers vs. X-Men when the Phoenix came back, and Tony Stark threw everything he had at the Phoenix Five, and nothing was sticking. And he looks at Doctor Strange in a cave and goes, "I scienced the shit out of this. We're gonna have to do something else. This is where I need you to step up." And it went from there. Number 4 for me is the Falcon. I love a good sidekick. Anthony Mackie is incredible, and I love one of the things that I do love about comic media and the MCU is, I'm not going to get all SJW on people, but I like the cultural relevance of having a black Captain America going forward. That means a lot to a lot of people, and that is why they kind of bypassed Bucky being Captain America to go to Sam. But I have a feeling eventually that's going to flip.
Well, and there's also,
And then we're going to go back to Captain America and the Falcon.
There's also comic, backing for that. So it's
Right.
following the storyline. So that's okay.
But I do like that Falcon, he knows he can't go out and compete with everybody. But I love how they gave him gradual tech updates to make him at least relevant. And I like that he's not always on the front lines. Like, he spends a lot of Civil War trying to find where Bucky is. Or sorry, I'm thinking Winter Soldier. He's doing a lot of the legwork for Captain America. And I said, I love a good sidekick, and I actually prefer him over Bucky, but that's that's a thing. Number 3 for me, where to go, is Thor. Now, the first 3 appearances of Thor 1 and 2 and Avengers, he wouldn't have even been on the list.
I agree.
But then they realized, hey, Chris Hemsworth has comedic chops, and he is so good in Ragnarok and Endgame. And I've got a whole rant on how he's treated in it, not necessarily how he's treated in Endgame, but how PTSD is portrayed, and that I think they're pointlessly mean to him at certain moments. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, let's not go.
But Chris Hemsworth is perfect from Ragnarok on.
Yes.
He is. He still has that arrogant swagger. I love his comedic timing in it, and it's one of my favorite stories. I have 3 children. I have 1 daughter, and she is nerd tolerant, but she's not really in our circle. And usually, what we do on Christmas is after presents to fill that. She's nerd tolerant. My wife is nerd adjacent, and my boys are just nerds. But on Christmas, and that gap in between Christmas presents in the morning and going to someone's family evening, we've made a thing of going to the movies.
Right.
There's usually something out around Christmas time. There was a 4-year span. It was Star Wars, and we were talking about what we wanted to see, and I was like, "Hey, let's go see." It was let's go see Ragnarok. Yeah, let's go see Ragnarok, and everyone was on it except for my daughter. And I look at my daughter; she's 16 now, so she was about 13 at the time. I was like, Chris Hemsworth takes his shirt off. She goes, "Okay, let's go." That's how I got her to see Aquaman too.
Nice hook.
That's how I got her to see Aquaman too. Moving on from there, number 2 for me, where to go, is Loki. Loki can do no wrong. He has the second best long-term arc. I love what they're doing in the TV show. I love that they're letting him be silly as of Ragnarok, and I love how he really stepped it up there in Infinity War in the 3 minutes we got to see him, where he had that big turnaround where we have the Hulk, and the movie progresses from there. But Tom Hiddleston is just incredible in this. He can do literally no wrong in this character in anything that he wants to do. But my favorite Loki moment is actually a Chris Evans moment. I think it was in the second Thor movie. They've got him bound and they're walking, and he morphs into Captain America. And it's a scene of Chris Evans impersonating Tom Hiddleston impersonating Chris Evans. And it's so good.
It is good.
So much.
The face-off moment.
It is good.
Exactly.
Face off. Good callback.
And then my number 1 is Scarlet Witch. I love Elizabeth Olsen. I think she's incredible. I think she went from the meek little, I don't know what I'm doing and I don't belong here, into arguably the most powerful being in the universe. And that was even before WandaVision, which is my favorite piece of Marvel media since Ragnarok.
Wow.
WandaVision above anything else.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I love that show so much.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I did wait a couple weeks because I knew it was the kind of thing with how I saw how they were formatting episodes, and I knew it was the kind of thing that was just going to piss me off. So I waited until I could binge at least half of it, and that's what I did. And then I became angry, like, I want more episodes.
I tell you what. I think she is the. She's going to be the there for a while they were talking about Captain Marvel being the big, hero. It's got to be Wanda from here on out. I mean, she doesn't need incantations. Right. She doesn't need amulets. She just thinks it and it is, and she is bad. And let's face it, it's Elizabeth Olsen.
So my favorite character who isn't on this list is Maria Hill, and I love her dumbed down explanation of the twins. He's fast and she's weird. And that just paints such a broad canvas of what they can do.
Yep.
Marvel does comedy so well. It's insane.
Yeah,
well, that's how, some of the characters are, that's how they were able to change some of the characters to be more mainstream appealing. Like Doctor Strange has zero mainstream appeal, except for Harry Potter got people somewhat interested in magic. Benedict Cumberbatch is a big enough name to get people to come in, and they made him funny. Yep. Like, I love the arrogance in the beginning where they're playing super obscure music and he's just title and date.
All right, so who's your least,
something else.
Josh?
So bottom 5 for me.
Let's cut
so
down
my
to bottom
least,
one.
and my bottom 1 is everyone in the Guardians of the Galaxy except for Mantis and Groot. And here's kind of being broad with it. Rocket Raccoon.
I love
Rocket Raccoon is the most. Rocket Raccoon is so I don't not like any of these movies. I don't not like any of these characters, but Rocket Raccoon is walking short man's disease. That is his entire character. Like, yes, there's tragedy there. Yeah, that's all it is. And I'll go to the easy one. Gamora is boring. I understand her significance. I understand her purpose. I love Zoe Saldana. She is boring. She is literally just badass bad girl.
Right.
Yeah.
And then here's the big controversial one. No one likes Star-Lord. Everyone likes Chris Pratt. If you like Star-Lord, you like Chris Pratt.
That's
controversial. All it is.
I think that's
and
true.
He has a decent arc from the 2 Guardians movies, but when they get to Infinity War, it's right back to zero. He's a big dumb idiot man-child.
Yep.
And if they would have kept that growth for him, it'd be a little bit more enjoyable. But the thing is, like, Chris Pratt is the Wish.com version of Ryan Reynolds. And
I disagree so bad.
Just like
that's a good comparison.
Big reach, man. Big reach.
So, but what I'm saying, I don't think so. I don't think so.
He's trying to be snarky just like him.
I appreciate the transformation that Chris Pratt did to go from Andy from Parks and Rec to Star-Lord. But ultimately, he's just there to be a big dumb idiot. That's the whole purpose of it. And the fact that they undid any character growth that he got is very off-putting.
Yeah.
And then Drax is just there to be the indestructible man. Like, he's got the whole, I only think in literal terms, you know. It's the best thing Dave Bautista's ever done and probably will ever do. But there's just very little appeal for me.
You didn't like him in Army of the Dead?
I have not seen that yet. I'm kind of giving that one a wide
Frank's
berth.
eyes rolled so big I heard them into my headset.
I see Frank's
I'm not
eyes
a
on
Zack
the floor,
Snyder
and they just
fan.
rolled out of his head.
I'm not a Snyder
I like
fan.
some Zack Snyder stuff, but ultimately, I'm kind of
Dawn of the Dead was the only thing I liked.
He already made his zombie apocalypse movie, and it was Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead was
great.
the only thing I've liked
Which
of
was
his.
great. But I will say this.
Dawn of the Dead was great, and
I hate what he's done to DC. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm in the minority that love The Watchmen.
I liked The Watchmen, actually.
I love The Watchmen.
I liked that movie, honly.
Well,
but I didn't know much about the comic book either.
I didn't either.
That movie was casted well enough to carry. But I'm kind of over zombies right now. And it's allegedly a fairly unique take on it. But ultimately, like, I'm just
Walking Dead syndrome.
Walking Dead killed it for me.
Josh. And group chime in.
Yo.
Where is Nebula on your Groot side, or is she on the rest of the group side?
So she's kind of on the upper part of the group side with Rocket. Like, I love Karen Gillan. I love her arc of being the absolutely devoted daughter who only really wanted a sister. I love the duality and interchange that they use through Endgame. But ultimately, just like most of these characters,
wasted.
They're not
wasted.
They're not memorable enough on their own.
No.
Sure.
Like, they work as a group. Everything in that group is great. I love those movies, but like they only kept Rocket and Groot.
Endgame? Do you like what they did with her in Endgame?
Yes, I love the duality that they used with her in Endgame.
I thought that took her to a next level.
I think it was. It did, but I still believe that there's a very pointed reason for the 2 Guardians of the Galaxy that they kept post snap.
Sure.
And that's because Rocket Raccoon is just a one-liner machine, and who doesn't love Groot?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right.
I would have loved to see Manus. Manus has this weird innocence about her that makes everything funny. But the 2 characters that they needed to keep from that group, they did, and everyone else got snapped.
You're next.
Okay. Number 1 on my list is Force of Light Entertainment. No, I'm just kidding. That's the wrong list.
He caught me. Sorry about that.
You're right. Number 10. I'm starting with number 10. Bedtime stories. I'm shocked as hell you haven't said it. Samuel L. Jackson. It's Nick Fury. Okay, he's the head coach. He puts them into place. He keeps them there, and then he lets his stars do the rest of the work. Number 10, I've got Nick Fury. Number 9, I love. Speaking of actors, Paul Rudd. I love Paul Rudd and everything he does. Paul Rudd can do no wrong for me. I love Ant-Man, and I love what I think that what they did with him for the Infinity War series was fantastic. Number 8.
I'm pretty sure the Fountain of Youth is in his hot tub in his backyard.
I still can't believe Paul Rudd is in a Marvel movie.
Yeah, right, but he's so
And he's so
amazing.
good
He's
at
so
it.
great. But here's the thing.
I was so shocked how much I loved him in that movie and how much I loved that movie. Tic Tac, I love that movie.
Yes.
I still would have loved to see what Edgar Wright could have done with it, but
man.
ultimately I was satisfied with it.
I think that's one of those, they got the right guy in the back door. You know what I'm saying? They went for one guy, and the guy who was standing in the wings was the guy they should have been going for in the first place. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm a sucker for when you take somebody who's bad and they become good. You know, and like they portray him as, you know, in and out of jail and whatever the case may be, running with the wrong crowd, and then they turn him into what he is.
Anti-hero.
Yeah, and I'm a sucker for that. I'm easy. Shit. Excuse me. Number 8, I've got Loki. Because as Josh said, he can do no wrong. You guys touched on Loki. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on him. I'm excited to see what he does on from here on out. And number 7, I agree with you guys, but I am not 100% in on your Hulk takes. And it's simple. It's the Hulk. Okay? It's Bruce Banner. It's the Hulk. I love what they did with him and you know, him tearing up the city, the Hulk Buster. I'm not a big fan of Professor Hulk, but I thought he was important, and Ragnarok was fantastic. Number 6, I've got the Love of the Thunder, the Big Lebowski of the Marvel Universe, Fat Thor. I just love what they did with him throughout the movies. I love where he ended up. My favorite part is when they're fighting Thanos and his crew, and he says, "No, I want that. You take the little one." You know, that's like my favorite thing. Like, I don't know why. I love that when he's standing on the, you know, you got the three, you know, the Miami Heat threesome, standing on the hill looking down at Thanos, and he puts his arms out, and you see the storms and the eyes. I'm just like, let's go. I'm ready to fight.
Love that reference.
Like,
I was gonna say nice Miami Heat reference.
Yeah.
So here's my favorite. Here's my favorite thing about that scene in particular is he's all battle readied up. He's got the light. He's got both weapons, but it doesn't fix the fact that he's still Fat Thor.
Yeah.
Like because it. Again, we're not getting too far into it, but it's proving that you can't just snap PTSD away.
Yeah.
Like he did some horrible things to himself because horrible things happened to him. He's worthy. He's ready to redeem himself, but it's not instant.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about that scene.
And had he been at full Thor power at that point, he would have. I think he would have wiped Thanos out by himself. That's just me. That's just me. But anyway, go ahead.
Number 5, I love what they've done with her. I don't think they fully have tapped into it until WandaVision, and that's the Scarlet Witch. I think they kind of slow dragged her along, and maybe they did that because of the WandaVision show, to build her up to where she is now, like, post credits. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen WandaVision, when she's going through the book, and she is the Scarlet Witch. She's not Wanda Maximoff anymore. I'm just so intrigued with what she's going to do. Because you said she's going to be the big hero from here on out. I don't know. She may not be. I don't know.
The big hero, but the big power.
And I agree with you.
The big power.
But she could have wiped Thanos off like it was nothing. I mean,
she held him off with. He had all but one stone, and she was holding him off.
Yeah.
There at the end of Infinity War,
but
that was.
Had she been at full power, like she was at the end of WandaVision, she could have literally looked at him and said, "You no longer exist," and he would have been, and it would have been over. Right? No more mutants.
Kind of a deep cut comic reference, but just no more mutants. That's where I was going.
She says one sentence and wipes out 99% plus of the mutants in the world. You think she could look at Thanos and go, "You're no longer here," or "You don't exist," or "You're a tree," whatever the case may be, right? Yeah, that's the reason I'm saying, man, because I like it.
And she's a joy to look
so
at.
Excited, so excited.
I will say that too. Number 4, before Endgame, I could have put him at the bottom, just because my little brother is the biggest Captain America fan you will ever meet. I hate him. I hate the okay, I played sports, I played football. I hate the "let's go team" guy. Okay? Like, let's get it together, men. I hate that. And I hated him throughout the whole thing. Like you got to have the heart and the pride, that whole thing. But the moment he grabbed the hammer,
and he said that line that made a whole theater.
It changed everything for me.
I've seen that movie dozens of times, and I still get goosebumps for that.
So, small story. I'll tell you real
jumped
quick.
out of my seat.
So good.
I went on premiere night. Me and my friend Tyler, shout out to him. And it was right at the scene, right after, it was right when they were walking down to Thanos. Electricity went out in the movie theater. We had to evacuate the movie theater. I stood outside for 25 minutes until I had to run back in because they pre-played it without telling anybody. And I missed that scene originally. But then we went and saw it with him.
I would have been furious.
I cried, but it's fine.
It was funny because I think it was the next day,
God.
he and I were sitting in the theater watching it together the next day. So he got to see it he didn't know he missed it until
I saw it, and I'm just like, my life is not the same anymore,
Avengers.
and I love exactly Avengers.
I just love how long they teased it out.
Yeah. Well, it was like
I love how long they teased that whole gag out. Like,
well, it was like someone calling Scarlet Witch. How long did it take for us to actually hear someone say those two magic words together? You are the Scarlet Witch, and I was like,
well, they'd only ever teased it once at the end of Age of Ultron. It goes to black after he says Avengers, and that's the closest they got in the entire MCU until that moment. That's the kind of thing that you save, and that was perfect.
Perfect, absolutely. And like you just said, Avengers Assemble. I mean, that scene is it's you've been waiting all the time for that, and it's America's ass. I mean, let's just be honest. It's America's ass.
America.
Number 3
is only Paul Rudd could deliver that one.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. Number 3 is Doctor Strange, and I don't know why. I loved his single movie. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I liked it.
But I loved that. I
loved it.
But here's my thing: is I love what's next. He has my most curiosity. What is he going to do? Because I just think he's going to be such a major part of all the little movies and shows or what have you going forward. So I love him. I want him to read me a bedtime story, and he's awesome. Number 2.
Told you. There's that baritone.
Exactly. And number 2, I love everything about the actor. I love where he came along in the story. I think they didn't do him right until now, and that's Peter Parker. the Spider-Man is number 2 for me. I think Iron Man passed the torch to him, as he is going to be the Iron Man to where the MCU is now moving forward, if that makes sense. Because I think he's too good of an actor and too good at what he does to not. And number 1, for everything that you said, Josh, and everybody else, it seems, you couldn't pick a better Tony Stark. You couldn't pick a better start. You couldn't pick a better ending. And you couldn't pick anything from the beginning to the end of where he left off. In every single movie he was in, he's fantastic. He's perfect. I've got a emotional thing with the character Iron Man, and nothing could replace that. He is inevitable. Right?
Yes.
You want to hear my bottom, or you just want me
Agreed.
to just
Let's hear your bottom 1.
If you weren't ranked, by the way, that means like I like you a little bit, but really it don't matter to me. I'm gonna do my not ranked: Black Widow, Vision, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Black Panther, The Guardians. I like you, but I don't like you enough. The bottom, number 5, is Hawkeye. I think we sense a common theme here, dude. Okay, you shoot an arrow. I'm over you. 4, War Machine. Give me a 3XL suit, and I'm kicking his ass. Bottom line. You're nobody to me. Number 3 is Quicksilver. I'm over you as well. I could put 10 different characters in here. Why are you even alive? And why are you here? I'm brutal. I'm brutal with it. You piss me off, bottom 5.
Savage.
Come with the thunder.
Yeah.
Number 2, no one has said it yet. What does the Wasp do for you? What does she do for you? She does one thing cool for me.
Very little, if at all.
And she it's why I love the
Very
Ant-Man
little.
movies. Okay, they're one of my favorites. I like Ant-Man and the Wasp. I like Ant-Man, but the only cool thing she did for me is when it's the girl power going into Infinity War.
Yeah, the girl power
The
hero
girl
walk.
power, like you
Yeah.
know, and I'm all about it. You know, shout out to the women of the world. But when you don't see her, and then she kind of pops up and she's walking with him. That was the coolest shit you did. Other than that, go away. I don't care about you. And number 1,
We haven't gotten enough of her.
I agree. And they could do more.
I agree.
Hope they do more, but we'll see. And number 1 is Captain Marvel. I don't know why we needed that movie. I don't know why we needed that 10 minutes in Endgame.
It wasn't even 10 minutes. It was
Filler.
like 4 minutes.
I
Total
don't-
screen time.
why do I need you?
Filler.
Yeah, just
Filler.
a filler.
So there is one
If you're
positive
gonna
for me
take up
for that movie.
her,
For
I'm
Cap-
going to hurt you. Go ahead.
No, I'm not taking up for her. I'm not taking up for her. There's one positive for me for that movie, and that's because it hit me right in the nostalgia. The soundtrack to that movie, the late '90s music they used,
Yeah.
is perfect,
Yeah.
including my favorite song by Garbage. I love it.
There was also, like
I'm
the
with you on that.
Blockbuster video and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'll give you. They pulled the nostalgia
Yeah.
buttons just
Yeah,
right.
the nostalgia.
But God, it was just
I'm-
so bad.
Stanley, man. Stanley.
The Flurkin was cool.
Stanley.
Yeah, the Flurkin was cool. I'm not.
That's funny.
I love Stanley with the Mallrat script.
Yeah.
that
love,
That was great.
love Kevin
Oh,
Smith.
Stanley.
Yeah, we can get
But
more.
that, I don't know. She's just there to be the Deus Ex Machina. That was her purpose for this. Hopefully, she has something bigger to do going forward.
Correct.
And I'm kind of in the middle on Allison Brie in general, but I'm not.
Same.
I said I don't not like any of these movies. There's something positive to find in all of them,
Sure.
but that one just kind of,
My whole thing, was
especially
her-
where it was released.
Throwaway.
yeah, well, my problem
Where it was
is
released
I
was
just
just
don't
kind
care
of,
for-
oh,
I've never
oh,
cared for
Mhm.
okay.
anything I've seen her in. It's not
She was
bad person.
great.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yes, she
21
is great.
Jump
in
Street.
Scott Pilgrim first of all.
21 Jump Street. Okay, I'll give you that one. All right.
I loved that
But
movie.
now I will
I'm
say
sorry.
this before you go on, Pops.
All right, go ahead.
Is what's the great thing about what they do with these Marvel movies is people that are in your bottom 5, 2 movies from now, they might not be. They do so
Mhm.
well with character development. You
Very
know,
true.
tell me right now that after you guys watch the first Avengers, that Loki'd be on your list today.
Is everybody back?
Just can't help but love him for some reason.
He's like that car wreck that you know is so bad, but you just
You
cannot
just
help
have
looking
to
at it.
watch.
You have to watch it.
Yeah. You gotta
He was-
watch it.
What's
He
that?
was great in Kick-Ass too. So.
I loved Kick
I
Ass
love
so
Kick-Ass.
much.
We were talking about
Do a
Nick Cage.
Kick-Ass stream.
God, I
think we'd
love
all
that
love
movie.
Sorry, guys, we got caught in a little Astro van time thing. You guys have been gone for years, but it would only take us 2 minutes.
Well, your screen went black, and then Alan was there and Stefan wasn't. And my first thought was, did we get snapped again? But then
only one could hope.
Hey, and just so you guys know, my wife has been
Bringing it
watching on
back.
YouTube
Full
since we've
circle.
been frozen since for a while, but you can still hear the stream fine. But visually, we're frozen.
Oh wow!
No.
So hopefully we all have a really good smile on our face and we don't look like, Anyway.
Oh yeah, we are.
So my number one is Nick Fury. Would anyone like to venture a guess on why I say
Wow.
Nick?
Because he brought them all
Because
together.
He brought everybody together.
He's
Because it's
responsible
Samuel
for
Jackson.
putting the team together, and he's Samuel Mother effing Jackson. He got sick and tired of these aliens, wizards, and androids on this effing planet.
So a quick sidebar about Samuel L. Stefan asked why he wasn't on my bedtime stories list.
Yeah.
He actually he did audio for 2 children's books that
Yes.
are brilliant. One's called "Go the F to Sleep," and
I have that book and I have it.
it's a parody of Goodnight
I
Moon.
saw him do the reading. It was
It's
great.
got to be awesome.
And then the other one is the book you give a kid when they're about to have a sibling. It's a book you give a kid when you're about to have a sibling. It's called "Oh Shit, Now There's 2 of You."
I love Samuel L. Jackson. I do. All right, and my bottom.
I love him so much.
You ready, guys? My bottom is real simple. It's a dead heat tie. Quicksilver and Captain Marvel, because they're both equally as useless to the Marvel universe.
Mhm.
Would you all?
But you didn't see that coming.
No.
Yeah.
So honorable mentions.
Maria Hill and Coulson.
Nice. Coulson's a great choice. Very good choice.
Coulson, and I love Colby Smulders, and I like that she got to flex a little bit in some of the later movies,
Yeah.
but she is great as Maria Hill. Those are my 2 honorable mentions. They have very little bearing to your Infinity War list, but they are just a joy every time they're on the screen.
Absolutely. Chantal, honorable mention.
I'm gonna go with Wanda. I'm gonna go with Scarlet Witch
I agree.
as my honorable mention. I was gonna put her on my top 5. And the only reason why I didn't is because the only reason why she would have been there was because of WandaVision, which I absolutely 100% love. So she is my honorable mention. I just, especially because which I've talked on my other podcast, I can relate to that character, like the grief that she was feeling through WandaVision. I feel like that was something that was so relatable, and putting yourself in a bubble. I've done that myself, and I was like, I can totally relate to this character. Plus, I love classic television, so the whole classic television element of it was just wonderful for me. But now that we've actually seen what she can do, I can't wait to see what she's going to do in the next movies. And I agree. I love Elizabeth Olsen as someone who grew up with Full House. I don't know where they were keeping her this whole time up in the attic, but I love Elizabeth Olsen. And yes, I think she is gorgeous. I love her.
I'm
So
gonna tell you right now,
I need some more Wanda.
when she donned that Scarlet Witch outfit, and her hair was blowing and all that. Oh
Beautiful.
my God, it took my breath. She's
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous. DJ.
I love that new costume. It's beautiful.
I love the cosplay version that she wore in the Halloween episode too.
Yes.
Like I thought
Yes,
that was
yes,
hilarious.
that
Yes,
was great.
Catherine, yes.
That was great.
DJ.
Back.
All right. Honorable mention, not technically part of the MCU yet, but Wolverine.
Yeah, I'll take it. I know we were staying in the MCU, but I'll take it.
I've been waiting for somebody this entire time to have a hot
It's gonna
take,
be-
and that is it.
It will happen. It's going
It's
to
going to be
happen.
it's going to be very dependent on the casting.
Yeah, I'll agree with
Because I'm not saying anyone's going to beat what Hugh Jackman did, but it's like Heath Ledger's Joker. You're only going to get close, and you have to go completely different. Otherwise, everyone's just going to say, "Oh, he's just trying to be Hugh Jackman."
There's one person that I would probably say could play Wolverine. Fortunately, he's actually playing a current Marvel character, and that would be Tom Hardy. I think Tom Hardy would make an amazing Wolverine.
I tell you who else I think
Yep.
would make a good Wolverine.
Okay.
But I can't remember the.
As long as he
actor's
doesn't
name.
do an accent.
Yeah, I can't remember the actor's name, but he is on The Boys, the main guy on The Boys.
Okay.
Oh,
Carl Urban.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He was in Ragnarok. He was the guy that my stuff. He would, yeah.
Oh, but yeah, I could see him doing it too.
Yeah.
I agree.
Scourge, that's the character name.
Yeah.
He was Scourge in Ragnarok.
What about you, Frank?
Okay, so Wolverine was in my top 3,
Okay.
but two honorable mentions. They're technically in the MCU, but not in the movies, but in TV shows, and that is Daredevil and the Punisher.
Frank, you're my new friend.
So good. So
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're my new friend, dude. I cannot
'Cause,
wait.
I watched Daredevil like on repeat the first few seasons.
I like
It was
the whole cast.
such like that was
God, that
the whole-
Hulk
it was-
in season 1, so good.
Vincent D'Onofrio should be the Kingpin
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
movies.
He's a good actor.
He's
such
such
a
an
good
amazing actor. And then the Punisher.
Ben
They
Affleck
could
for life.
they could use Oh Lord.
That movie sucked around Ben Affleck. Let's get that straight. Ben Affleck was fine. Everything else was, except for Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell was just out of his mind. But that movie sucked around Ben Affleck.
Well, let me tell you,
Stand Ben Affleck.
Michael Clark Duncan actually did not such a horrible job as Wilson Fisk as the Kingpin.
Yeah.
I just
Right.
felt like he was just poorly directed. Honestly, I thought he could have killed it if he was
Problem
directed
with that
correctly.
movie was the script.
All of it.
Yes, yes.
You know, the script was the
Sorry.
problem.
Like I said,
But then going back to my second one, The Punisher, I felt that was the absolute perfect embodiment of the Punisher.
I agree.
He Wolverine's one of my top favorite Marvel superheroes, but to me, Punisher's number 1 for the simple fact is that this is a man with no powers whatsoever. His power is his determination, his will, and he is a badass. It's like he's, you can't say enough about him. Plus his name is Frank, so
There you go.
Frank.
If we were going to
so-
go off the rails like this, then I would have said Deadpool because that's
There you go.
my
I'm
man.
with you on that.
I love
Chantal,
I said
Deadpool.
MCU.
Talk
I said
the
MCU.
truth.
Love-
I feel it.
So here's my thing on that. Frank.
Ryan
Deadpool-
Reynolds. Thank God.
I agree with you on that, Frank, because like Batman, he has the contingency list. The Punisher
Yes.
can take them all because he knows how to do it.
Yep.
know? So yeah, I'm with you.
my favorite Punisher quote from the comics is someone asked him how you planning to accomplish this. He's like, a shit ton of bullets and maybe a boot knife.
There you go. All
Nice.
right. So what's your honorable mention, Josh?
I just want the X-Men. It's a bit of a cop out, but I would like the first class X-Men to be introduced first and then kind of trickle the rest in.
Yeah.
I know they're going to try and ham fist Wolverine into it, and I think Wolverine is a little bit too big to be included in just the X-Men. He would have to have his own thing. But I want that stare down from Avengers vs. X-Men 1, where half of the comic panel is Avengers and half of the comic panel is X-Men, and you get Captain America and Cyclops like screaming at each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
But putting the X-Men aside, I also want a better representation of Ghost Rider. What they had in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was okay. I prefer the motorcycle to
You
the
didn't
car,
like Nick Cage?
but
Hey,
the first one is really, really good. The second one is a lot of fun, but it's one of those. It's like the Fast movies. It's a big dumb
That's a
action
crazy
movie.
one.
so here's the
It's
thing
a
with
big
Nick,
dumb action movie.
here's the thing with Nick Cage, okay? You're gonna watch a Nick Cage movie, you know you're watching Nick Cage. Go along for the ride, strap yourself in, you're gonna love it. Because it's Nick Cage. He's great.
True.
It
It's true.
is true. I mean, you know what you're gonna get, so just go with it. So what about you, Steph? Do you have an honorable mention?
Go see.
Go ahead, buddy.
I kind of feel the same way about Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum's a better actor, but he's also so kooky that when you watch Jeff Goldblum, you're going to get a really eccentric performance,
You
but
know
you're going to
why?
love it on some level.
Because he's playing the same
Yeah.
character he played in Jurassic Park. It's the exact
And
same
that's,
character.
and you know what? It's
over
worked
and
for
over and over
It's
and
worked for
over.
him, and he's made millions. Bless him.
He
I
is Malcolm. He
love
is
him.
Ian Malcolm.
He is.
Yeah, I love him.
And I will tell you right now,
There's a
movie
great
happens to
joke
be-
that he.
that movie happens to be one of Steph and mine's all-time favorite. But go ahead, Josh. Go ahead. I'm sorry. There's a great joke.
He's got a great joke. He's like, people come at me and they say, "Hey, how do we pronounce your name? Is it Goldblum or is it Goldblum?" And I always answer the same way. How dare you speak to me?
It's so funny.
Honorable mention, Steph.
Thanos.
Thanos. That's an interesting choice.
And there's
I can see
when
that.
you guys left the first. Did we all see Infinity War in theater?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you
Absolutely.
left that movie, because every movie you go to, you dream up in your head what's going to happen. This is what I think is going to happen. At the end of that first, in the fin of the first Infinity War, I walked out and I said, "What the French toast just happened?"
Yeah.
Because at the minute you didn't know what the hell was going to happen. How are they going to win? How? Why? You know. But I thought what they did with him was awesome. I think Josh Brock, what is his last name? Help me out.
Roland.
Roland.
I thought he was fantastic.
He was
Josh
great as
Brolin.
Cable, too.
He was good as Cable.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, he was so good as Cable.
I love that. It's one of my
Goonies
favorite
forever.
characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I love when he called him Thanos in the second movie.
Oh no!
You're
when he
so
called
dark
him,
and gritty. Are you sure you're
I
not from
lost
the DC
it.
universe?
when he called him One-Eyed Willie. When he called him
One-eyed
One-Eyed
Willie. I'm
Willie.
like, stop it, please.
Is that-
Oh, my favorite one was, "Oh, you're so dark and gritty. Are you sure you're not from the DC universe?"
So good.
But those jokes only work for Deadpool.
God, I love Deadpool.
I love Ryan Reynolds. I hate Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, me
We
too.
gotta do a Deadpool.
What?
I hate Ryan Reynolds. He is beautiful.
You just lost
You're
everybody
gonna
on
have
the
to explain
podcast.
that.
Listen.
You're gonna have to explain yourself on that
Who
one.
said it?
I
Oh,
did.
Alan.
He's beautiful. He's rich.
Is
Yes,
that why
he
you
is.
hate him?
And he's funny as hell.
And
No
he has
other
Blake
man on the
Lively.
planet has a chance when he's around. I'm just jealous. I love Ryan Reynolds. If I were a man, or if I were not a man, if I were a woman, I would go after Ryan Reynolds. I think he's just that good looking of a guy. He's the full package, baby.
My second honorable mention. How pissed would you be if I said like Pepper Potts? or
I'd
some
hurt
shit?
you. I hate you. God, I hate
Oh,
I hate
man.
Pepper and
I would log off
I don't
right
hate
now.
Pepper Potts. I just hate Gwyneth Paltrow.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you.
But I said it earlier, and I won't go into it. I like Nebula's character arc, and I don't know. She's gonna be in Love and Thunder,
Yeah.
you know, and Guardians 3, and I like her. I like her, you know. So,
No, I would like to see more of her.
Yeah,
I really would.
I would too. So,
Mhm.
you guys, if we're still frozen, you may or may not be able to see this if you're on YouTube. But I'm going to pull up a picture right now of my honorable mention.
The rat that triggered the time machine.
Yes. Yes. I was gonna say that. I was gonna say when you said that you like Ant-Man because he saved
MVP.
everybody. No, the
Oh,
rat
man.
saved everybody.
That is
Saved
so
everything.
funny.
And that's one of my favorite cameos too, because I love Ken Jeong, and I love that he does. I love that he doesn't get any lines, so he can't be obnoxious about it. I just love that he's just there with the fakest looking mustache.
All right, guys. Well, tonight was a lot of fun. The stream went a little bit longer than we anticipated, but that's okay. It's what you get when you get a group and everyone's got their opinions. I know that I will tell you again. I got to stress this: my list was not based on my favorite characters, or else there would have been a lot of those that weren't on there at all. Captain Jack.
What? I just read it.
Yeah, let's just hold off and say no.
No.
No, I don't think they did. Anyway, I just want to say thank you to all of our guests for coming on tonight. I really appreciate you. I appreciate your opinions. It was a lot of fun. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to stick you back in the green room. Don't run away, okay?
Thanks everybody for joining tonight. We surely do appreciate
you so
it.
much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Steph, do you have anything you'd like to say to finish up tonight?
Man, that was just fun. I like that, we all can get together and kind of give our own opinions on something that we love, and I'm glad that everybody could stop by once again and enjoy it.